4 on your agenda.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, John.
How you doing?
And it is to authorize the mayor to enter into compensation agreement by and among the city of Canton, Ohio, Canton City School District, Canton School District, and all state.
We have quiet. Thank you.
And declaring the same to be an emergency.
Madam Chairman, members of council, this is companion legislation for, that will go along with ordinance number 5, which is the TIF legislation. Ordinance number 4 that we're discussing right now, this is the compensation agreement that's been negotiated between Canton City Schools and Plain local schools. 75% of the property tax revenues will go to the developer. The remaining 25% will be split between Canton City Schools at 67% and Plain local schools at 33%. Both school districts voted on this split at their respective meetings last Monday, and it's before council for your consideration.
Okay, any issues,
Madam
concerns?
Chair.
Yes.
Director, or Deputy Mayor Williams, could you please educate everyone on what happens if the total payroll tax exceeds $1 million and where we stood on that negotiation?
Great, thank you, Leader. Members of council, typically, when you have TIF legislation, if the TIF is considered a project, and typically if the payroll within that project exceeds $1 million, the income tax is negotiated to be split between both school districts. Part of our negotiation with both school districts, we agreed that the city of Canton would retain 100% of all income taxes, and both school boards signed off on it. So there will be no fight or no split of the income tax for this particular TIF.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Director Williams, you did fantastic over in those, that meeting over there. I know there were several. I sat in on one of those. So great job working through all this. Let me just say that I already know the answer to this, but it gives me great joy in asking, is there a PLA on this project?
Member Fisher, Madam Chair,
Yes.
members of council, that was another item that was negotiated to be a part of this TIF. I talked to the leader earlier today, and also, it's not mine, I can assure you. I do like it, but it's not mine. And I talked to the clerk. I've asked council not to put this up for a vote tonight because we are working to make sure that that particular language is within all the documents. And so it's not there as of tonight. I'm working closely with Joe Mattuccio and Tom Burns in the law department to make sure that we get that language written in the document. So it will be before it's presented to you guys for a vote.
I love to hear that. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
And I should go on to say that the hall agreed to it as well. It's just that for whatever reason that was left out of the document. So we'll make sure that's inserted. I don't anticipate, Joe, I don't anticipate any problems with that language being inserted.
No, Madam Chairman, members of council, there are lots of pieces of legislation being churned out by lots of law firms as we speak. Many of them came Friday afternoon, some today. A lot of moving parts, and we did bring to their attention clearly the TIFs. This is a labor-friendly city, obviously, and they are being accommodating, and they understood why it wasn't soup yet tonight. So we do appreciate your patience in letting it go another. This is a short work week, obviously, but they have committed to working closely with us to try to ensure the language is in there for next Monday. And the goal is to try to pass it this year. Obviously, if it can't be, because there are missing parts or you're not completely satisfied, I told them that we, in all likelihood, will have the same leadership and we'll continue to give them our best efforts in the coming year.
You don't mind coming in Friday to finish that up, right?
Mr. Scrooge.
Yes. No. Well, it'll be moved to the third reading.
declare improvements to certain parcels of real property to be a public purpose. Prescribe public improvements to be made to directly benefit such parcels. Require owners of such parcels to make service payments in lieu of taxes and declare the same to be an emergency.
Madam Chairman, excuse me, members of council, this is the actual TIF ordinance before you. We're also asking, as Law Director pointed out, we're asking you not to vote on this tonight. We just wanted to have second reading. There are other documents that will be forthcoming. I also had this conversation today with Leader Morris and your clerk of council. There are a lot of documents, and this binder will be left in council chambers for any member of council to review. Member Smucker, I know you like killing trees. I'll be happy to print out, all 485 pages if you like. If any one of you would like it electronically sent, I believe the clerk will be able to accommodate you there. But again, please forgive me. I don't mean to be disrespectful not printing it out for you, but just wanted to save us some trees, and I thought I could put it in a huge binder where council can review, but it's actually TIF
It
ordinance.
looks like your third grade binder.
This is only half of the city.
Madam Chair,
Okay, yes.
if I could also interject something else for council's consideration. Again, in this moving parts concept, late Friday or early today, another document was produced and reviewed, and it has to do with the infrastructure. As you know, this is a large contemplated project that will require a lot of parking. So there are anticipated to be 2 decks, an underground and an above ground deck, for example. So there are ongoing discussions and some proposals about how they'll be TIF'd, and will it be a revenue stream parking deck, and who gets the revenue? So we're still, like I said, in the process of moving parts. We want to make sure we do our due diligence. Again, we're competing with a lot of law firms who are turning out a lot of material for their respective clients. So we don't mind you asking the tough questions. We certainly want to know the answers ourselves. And again, bear with us while we try to point out for you, if you don't have the time to read the 4 inches of documents, we'll try to point out for you what we see as the strengths, weaknesses, and possible pitfalls.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor and Law Director, in the meeting that we had with the hall, their developer, and the school systems, and here's the reason I'm concerned. The urgency to get this passed as quickly as possible was right at the front of the conversation from David Baker. We have to move, we have to move, we have to move. Now, I agreed that council would work with them to get this moved along rather quickly, but I'm getting a little nervous here knowing that so many attorneys on everybody else's behalf. Has it been communicated to the hall and their developer that we will delay this if we feel that they're not working in the good faith that they put out there in that meeting?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Leader, it has been documented in writing to all parties that we will not present documents in front of this council without you having the opportunity to properly vet these documents. And so, early on we agreed to work at the speed of business, but we didn't have the documents to work at the speed of business. So therefore, we delayed it and delayed it and delayed it. And even tonight, I called City this morning and asked that this not be adopted tonight because we got documents late Friday night. And to be quite honest, there was an opportunity to vet those documents between myself and the law department, or to have council vote on it under second reading tonight. So therefore, we'll go to third reading. And if there's other documents that are late coming this week, it might carry over to the next year or call for a special meeting.
And Mr. Williams communicated that to a representative of the Hall of Fame today, and I to the lawyer for IGF. IRG.
Okay. Go ahead. Thank you. What does this do for the overall construction project? Because I knew that they needed the TIF to move forward in order to satisfy funding and some leasing on some property, and now it appears that their attorneys are dragging their feet, which could, in effect, delay the construction project, which my understanding was if we delayed this project, it could potentially lead to moving the game because the stadium would not be complete. So how is this impacting that?
Madam Chairman, Leader Morris, I can assure you that the clients that these attorneys are representing have dictated to them that, they better get their act together. This council has been very gracious in saying we would work with them, but again, not having documents to put before you is a disservice to you all, because this is a very important decision that this council and administration has to make. So we're willing to, to burn the candle late hours, but we got to have the documents before us, and we haven't had them. So therefore, we're not going to ask you to vote on them.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Deputy Mayor, there's no question that all of us believe in this project. But similarly, I think we all also agree that we need to ensure that revenue from this project come back to the city of Canton in some fashion. So can you tell us, I'm obviously not disclosing private conversations that you cannot disclose, but can you at least tell us and assure us that this is not just a one-way street here? I understand the importance of building it, but once it's built, this city is going to put in an enormous amount of revenue and money that we don't have necessarily. And there has to be an assurance that there's going to be a revenue stream coming back from the hall.
Yeah, Member Schulman, members of council, I can address that a couple of different ways. One, as you're aware, the TIF ordinance really speaks to public infrastructure improvements. And there's going to be a lot of public infrastructure. There's talk about realigning Harrison Avenue, creating a new entrance to the Hall of Fame. As you're aware, when you get off 77 going to the Hall of Fame, that is not really the ideal type of exit to enter a tourist attraction. So that's going to be difficult, but this TIF ordinance speaks to the infrastructure improvements. The economic impact analysis that was done by a private firm dictated that this should generate approximately 13,000 jobs. Out of those 13,000 jobs, we have successfully negotiated that we will retain 100% of the income tax associated with those jobs. Kirk Shoring has put together additional legislation, entertainment district, redevelopment zone district, a special tourism district legislation. That will be forthcoming for the new council to adopt, which could be additional revenue streams for the city of Canton. So I could say at this point, I'm confident that through at least the income tax portion and the other legislation is coming down the pipe, we have positioned ourselves quite well. And again, this is new revenues to the city of Canton. And quite honestly, these are new taxes when you think about the property taxes. This is something that didn't exist yesterday, but will exist tomorrow. So I think we're in really good shape. And I mean, let's face it, we have to make an investment to get a return. And it's a substantial investment, but there's substantial outside capital coming into the city as well when you look at the overall development of Hall of Fame Village.
Is there an analysis or investigation as to whether a ticket tax, some kind of a tax where tourists come to the hall and there's tourist attraction, that some money automatically will be sent back to the coffers of the city?
Well, that's part of the legislation that I referenced in Kirk Shoring. So we need to look at that, adopt it, and make sure it works in our behalf. But that's part of, that's part of the tourism district legislation.
That was one of the things that worried me about Schuring's proposed legislation. I did not see any money coming necessarily directly back to the city of Canton from his proposed legislation.
And again, I think it's how we adopt it and how we amend it to make sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
To address President Schulman on the revenue coming back, when we did hit the point in the meeting when we were talking about the income tax, there was discussions of what percentage everybody was going to get, and I said, well, speaking on behalf of Canton City Council, here's the best offer you're getting. Nothing. Zero. I made it very clear that we invested $5 million of our taxpayer dollars into this. The income tax revenue is our only tool that we can use down the road. If somebody else wants to come into the area, we have to get tax breaks, so forth and so on. So in that negotiation, we offered zero back, and they did shut that conversation down really quickly when I said zero. So
I was just going to mention, we have a little different bed tax rate from the hotels. Is that a portion of that? Because everything is going to
It's
be
a small portion. It's a small portion, yes.
Because everything is going to be in the city limits at that point in time.
It's a timing. Well, yeah, I mean, it's a timing issue, is whether the hall, currently what's happening is some of the properties that the hall is looking at, they're purchasing those properties and then they're petitioning the city to annex. But I'm being very careful how I answer your question, because the hall could build in Plain Township and not come to the city for annexation. So therefore, you may not get that bed tax. I just want to be very careful how I answer your question. It all depends on the planning of the village.
And then the second part of my question is if by chance these documents get delayed based on lawyers not getting paperwork here, and the Hall of Fame game has to be moved, is there some kind of provision, some type of insurance, or some type of thing that would generate dollars to the city of Canton that we would lose as a result of it being moved?
That has not been discussed. I think we're working on this day and night to make sure that we can put documents in front of this council and make an educated decision. Despite the attorney delays, I don't think we're that far off. But again, I think it's appropriate that you have ample time to view these documents, which are quite voluminous, and be able to answer or ask the tough questions and have a level of comfortability to vote on this.
Just, on that point, we've been extremely fortunate with the weather this December. If you recall, this time last year, my kids were having school called off right after Christmas. I'm a nerd, you guys all know. I sometimes will check in on that construction camp, and it's about every excavator in the state of Ohio is currently out working on that thing. And if the plans were going in, that we were going to have this side ready to go before then, and they've been able to work this far into December, I can't imagine that a couple days delay on paperwork is going to be able to make that difference where it's not going to happen. That's just my opinion.
That wasn't a question, so.
Well, I was just commenting that, I don't believe that this delay of a couple of days on paperwork, seems how the weeks that we picked up on the construction with good weather is going to hurt us.
Yeah, well, I'll say this, just to answer that. You have our commitment that administration and law will be working day and night to make sure you have everything you need to make an educated decision on next week.
Okay, any more questions? Sir?
Yes, let me just add one thing, just so it's clear. For public consumption, Dave Baker and the hall have been pretty amazing with this and with us.
Absolutely.
I don't want it left that we are in any way in disagreement with the Hall or Dave Baker. They've made it very clear that they are going to connect inexorably the city of Canton urban area with the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
That they've made it very clear.
Yes.
So I just want the record to reflect that this is not a criticism.
No.
But it is a concern that we obtain all the income that is needed, and I want to compliment our leader, and the negotiating team also. Obviously, you guys did a phenomenal job, so congratulations.
Thank you. Madam Chair, just in closing, I don't want to sound like it's doom and gloom, but also this is a very, very, very important decision. I just want to make sure you have all the appropriate documents in front of you before you make this decision. So you will have those this week, and this will be in council starting tonight going forward. And as we get additional documents and amendments, we will add to this booklet. If you want anything electronically, phone call them. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, it is 6:55.